I invite you to Honestly Because, a space where we make it raw and keep it real with unscripted conversations. I am your friend, Anna Lucas. So when we were just getting into our producing apartment, we were trying our best to be obedient to the Lord and making it home because, like we said in the episode just before this, that we had sold everything almost that we felt like wasn't going to be ours or like our taste for us as a couple. And what we really wanted to invest in things of in this apartment of really reflecting who we were as a couple and our style and the things that we liked.
Which as a husband, you don't know what the family style is until your wife gives you wisdom on what that is. And you did a really good job at figuring out that stuff and helping me to kind of be like, man, I like that. That is dope. I like how that looks and works together. But it was so cool because you helped foster a home before we had a house, you know? And I know we touched on it in the last episode, but that was such a huge part of our obedience. It was not just doing the mechanical things you're going to get a house, so you need to make sure that you're making this phone call and scheduling this. That stuff's important. But to be in alignment with the purpose of why, the why behind the house, to be in that place of, this isn't just about getting a roof over your head and walls around you, but it's about making a home. You really kind of led the spirit of what that home would be like, you know?
I appreciate that.
And that, for sure. It was, it helped open me up more to us even getting a house, because in my mind, I kept thinking mechanically, money, and I'm in this apprenticeship and, my raises aren't here yet, all that stuff's going on in my head. But then you coming through with that kind of made me just...
Yeah, I really headed it all up. I headed up selling our old furniture, saving that money for new furniture, finding new furniture, whether through at Goodwill, Facebook Market, online, whatever. And then kind of keeping track of that.
Yeah.
And even allocating some of the income I was bringing in for that.
Yeah.
And whatnot. And so, yeah. And then, but at this time we also knew not only do we need to make this place home, but also we need to, we knew that God had already promised us a house, and back in our mommy apartment, he was dealing with us about getting involved in real estate. And so that was when he dealt with you early on in your apprenticeship. I think it was only your second or third year. Second year apprenticeship. Yeah. And so and I had just gotten a promotion at Chick-fil-A and was still trying to figure out what's next for me and whatnot in that area. And so God dealt with you about buying a course and about real estate and how to get involved in it, because at the time we didn't know anybody in real estate. And then also when we had just moved into mommy, that's when God dealt with us about buying a course for me as well, about on content creation, specifically in regards to YouTube and stuff. And we had felt peace about it because there was other ones we had come across and we just did not feel peace and didn't feel like it was time and didn't feel like we had the money for it.
Right.
But those two things were really big investments for us make.
They were. And you can kind of mark what a big investment is by how much you don't have to begin with. And for us to be in that situation, it wasn't, it's not that these were exorbitantly expensive courses or whatever, but they were honestly priced really well for people who are just trying to get on the come up in some way in that category. But for us, even though it was really well priced, it was huge for us. And it was still man, we had to plan this out and figure out how
we did payment plans on it.
Yeah.
On both of them.
Yep.
As much as
literally as much as
the most flexible option we could pick, we picked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it ended up being the best thing that we could do to kind of get ourselves in the place of thinking about real estate investment, thinking about content creation. And so it was our first big investment.
Yeah, and to teach
You
us how
know?
to do things like we had no idea
Yeah.
what to do.
Yeah.
And so we then honed in on those things by building up our savings. Like, because at this point we had some, because of the situation I have with my car, which this is a bigger story, but way more details than I'm going to share right here. But I was having issues with my car at the time, and God was dealing with me about looking for a new car. And this was back in mommy apartment. And I remember telling John, and John got really stressed out because he's like, we do not have the money, the means to do that whatsoever. And I'm like, I know, but this is what I feel like the Lord's telling me. But like, if you don't feel peace about it, then like, we'll pray and see, what he's actually doing. And so it turns out you felt peace about it. You're like, you know what? I feel the same thing. I feel like he's telling me that we need to do the same thing and like look for a car. And so I had like started looking for a car, was having issues with my car, and we just didn't feel like we had the money to buy, like to fix it. And that wasn't the direction God was leading us. He was leading us to get in the direction to try and buy a new car. And so, long story short, I started doing my best to like save up money in the time, which was not a lot, that we had extra, and selling things to save up the money for it.
Yeah.
I did this garage sale at your parents' house of things that they'd been wanting to get rid of for a while, of a lot of our stuff too that we felt like we didn't really need anymore and want anymore. And then people donated some items to it to sell and whatnot, and like did this garage sale to save up money, and was like selling things on Facebook Market, everything. And then turns out that someone had laid it on their heart to give us their car, or to give me their car. And even that, all the details of that being possible for that person is crazy too. And so, but to try to keep it focused. So I had some savings. So we had some savings because we were saving up for a car. But when that car was given to us, we had some money, and we were like, okay, God, what are we going to do with this money? And then the Lord started dealing with me about giving away the car that I had to someone. To fix it up, use the money to fix it up to give that car away. Yeah. But then circumstances and delays made it so that the person that we felt led to give the car to ended up getting a car. Yeah. And so then we ended up not being able to give it to that person anyways. And so we're like, okay, God, what are we going to do? So we decided we were going to sell it and try to get some of the money back for these other things that God was telling us to do, like the house and real estate investment. Right. And so we did have a little bit of money already starting savings because of that car situation that God blessed us with.
Which is wild, because God doesn't tell you He'll tell you to go from point A to point B. Yeah. He doesn't always tell you, most of the time, it seems like he doesn't really tell you how to get there. Yeah. But then when it gets to point J, you would have no idea at all that was the whole reason that he told you to go on this journey. Like, I didn't know. I'm sitting there stressed out about the fact that we need to get a car and whatever. I'm like, dude, I'm whatever I was at the time, second or third year apprentice.
You just started your second year.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was something like that. And I know that, I mean, it's just impossible. There's no way that we'd be able to do it. So for God to have this motivator to do this, and we get blessed with it anyways, which again meant that it wasn't up to our mechanical ability to come up with the money. It was more that we just had to obey him. Yeah. And then the car came anyways.
Yeah, which he didn't even tell us to start saving. But we were like, well, if he's telling us to look for a car, then we need to start saving. Right. And so we just did it in faith what we could. And even then we saved more than even made sense. Yeah. And even if we got blessed with money, if we felt peace about it and we didn't have any other pressing needs, we would add it to that fund, you know, and whatnot. And so our aim was to save up about $20,000 for whether that would be the house that God promised us or our first real estate deal or property, like
whichever one he wanted first.
Yeah. And we just felt that it was very important to do what we could to steward what we had well and to save up to something so that we could be like, okay, God, this is our 2 fish, 5 loaves. What do you want to do? And at the time, we did not have anywhere near 20,000, but that was like the goal we had set. Like, because that would give us roughly 20% on a house or 20% on an investment property. And so it was like, okay, let's let's
in the best position.
That we could either situation. And so like that then became like a big focus for us because of what we knew the Lord was already speaking and promising and telling us and guiding us to do. Not that he said like, hey, John and Anna, save up this in order for this to happen. That wasn't the case, but we wanted to do everything we could to position ourselves in a way where it's like, okay, Lord, whatever you say to do, we can do it. Like,
that's
we're
what
here.
You said. I mean,
we're here.
2 fish, 5 loaves. Like, what I come up with is not probably going to be enough.
Yeah.
But in your hands, it can become enough.
Yeah, and we didn't even know if it was even possible to hit 20K. We were just like,
it was just,
this is what I don't even know how it. I'll say the 20%. We were just like,
I don't know
that
how
seems
that popped in our head.
like let's try to aim for this. Well, I do know it was like, oh, let's save as much as we can, and then it was like, oh, we hit this number. Oh, let's try to hit this number.
Because then it was kind of like, oh, we can.
And then like, oh, we're close to hitting that. Let's try to go for this because that'll set us up really well. So it wasn't just like 20K off the rip. It was like it kind of like progressed as we were saving and whatnot. And so, long story short, we never saved 20K. Not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet. Because at the time, you know, my job was getting increasingly like stressful, like very much so. I was in training at this time now for my next position, and it was through the pandemic.
Yeah.
And so everything was shut down.
Everything was stressful. Everybody was stressed.
Only the Chick-fil-A drive-thru was running. No one could come in to dine in. And I remember there was so much shifting because my position was in the dining room. And so like when the dining room shut down, like there were so many of us didn't have a job technically. And so it was like we just had to shift with the business, like what the business needed at the time. And I remember that ended up being how I ended up in drive-thru because it was like, okay, well, one, I want to keep moving forward in Chick-fil-A as far as I can while God has me here and like learn as much as I can about business and leadership and leading teams and training people and like all this stuff. I wanted to do grand openings, like all of that stuff. And so I was okay. It just seems like drive-thru is the next step, especially because they needed a lot of people at the time because it was like that was the only way we were bringing in business was through the drive-thru. And so it was like increasingly stressful. Every day, you would literally come into work, and because of all the new information that was coming out about COVID, like nonstop, it's like we're doing this, blah blah blah, because of this. We put a system in place and start training people on it, and then like by like literally midday, it'd be like we can't do that anymore because this new information just came out. Like we need to do this now, build a whole new system, train everybody,
and then try to implement it.
Yeah, and then literally by the next day, it'd be done again.
Yeah.
It was like constant, like restart, change. Like nothing, it just felt like nothing was sure, nothing worked, nothing was good enough. Like it was just constantly that. And, so get to the point to where I get my promotion and things start opening up a bit more and whatnot. And dining room eventually opens up more and like everything kind of starts seeming more normal, but I'm still in drive-thru. But it's still increasingly becoming stressful for different reasons. And I remember at this time, like I was just coming home and having mental and emotional breakdowns every single day for like literally hours.
Yeah.
About everything that happened at work and like how at the time it was not good enough, how I was always in the wrong. It seemed like it felt like I was always in the wrong.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how hard I tried, no matter how much time I put in preparations for my shifts to lead them and stuff, like, and granted, like, when I was leading, like, we were, like, doing great numbers and, like, all of that stuff. Not that that really matters, but I felt like there were signs of me doing well.
Well, yeah, I mean, it does matter.
And then it wasn't being treated as...
Yeah.
Yeah.
It matters in the sense of your experience was that your numbers are doing well under high-stress situations.
Yeah.
But in the stressful environment, it's as if that doesn't matter.
No, yeah.
Right? Because the chaos seems to be bigger than your results, and then it's just like, I feel like I'm doing nothing. Nothing I do is amount, like, you can't hit the tipping point over the chaos.
Yeah, and at the time, like, there was a lot of wounds and personal wounds and stuff like that I had that it was, like, really rubbing against and, like, triggering and magnifying. Yeah. And so, like, that was part of the reason why it was so hard on me. But also, like, you know, throughout my life, I've had health issues. And we never really, like, were able to figure out, for one reason or the other, like, what was wrong and what was causing me to occasionally be in the hospital and be sick often and whatnot. And so because of this, like, high stress time, I started getting really sick.
Yeah.
Like, I started getting sick a lot, and being really fatigued, really exhausted, hurting a lot, and everything. And then, like, I remember around this time I had just found out that I had an autoimmune disease.
Yeah.
Which was, like, chronic hives, and I'd already known that I had severe migraines.
Right.
And so the severe migraines was already kind of, like, an issue for me. But then I found out that I had an autoimmune disease with chronic hives where my skin attacks itself, so it can cause me to have an allergic reaction, like, to my own body.
Yeah.
And so, like, just randomly, which has put me in the hospital a couple times.
Yeah.
And we didn't know why.
They were like, you came here at, like, in just the right time.
Yeah.
Because some of them are pretty bad.
Yeah, and like, one of the times when I was in high school, they thought it was from something I ate, and so, which I was like, I hadn't eaten in a while, like, I don't know, and when I did eat, it wasn't anything out of the ordinary, and they're like, well, it had to have been something you ate, but, like, they said that the only thing that saved my life was that my dad had given me Benadryl when he picked me up from volleyball practice and took me straight to the hospital. They were like, yeah, if you hadn't given her Benadryl, she wouldn't have made it. And I was like, oh, cool. All right. And then there was another time before we knew that it was an autoimmune disease, chronic hives. I was at Chick-fil-A, and I had my dad come pick me up from the ER, from Chick-fil-A to take me to the ER.
Yeah.
And
I think I was in class.
Yeah. And it was really bad then. And I said, I literally ate oatmeal for breakfast and came here. I just sat down to eat my employee meal, and I didn't get to eat any of it. And I said, I've literally had oatmeal so many times. This isn't, because they thought it was a food allergy too. And they're like, well, you need to see an allergist. And so that's when, like, we went to see an allergist. And then that's when I found out I had autoimmune disease, chronic hives. And so with these, like, health things, I was already set at, like, a disposition in my health. And then you add, like, stress and emotional stress and, like, physical stress, like, all in this.
Still, while the COVID stuff's unclear.
Yeah.
It's like all that stuff's going on while you're having these hospital visits and you know, work is kind of ramping up and trying to readjust to people being back in the dining room. And I mean, all of that just flip-flopping constantly. Yeah. I mean, it was just like, and then I'm going to work, and then, you know, I'm coming to find out, like, oh man, I need to leave. Yeah. Like, my wife's, you know, dealing with this, dealing with that. We need to figure out, you know, what's going on. Just a lot of circles.
Yeah, and then you were working so far away that I literally had to call my dad to take me to the hospital.
I'd be an hour, 10 hour, 15 away.
Yeah, and so, like, there's really no one else that, like, can call at the time. And so I ended up getting really sick because I actually got COVID finally, which it took, like, over a year.
Yeah, something like that.
And I just couldn't, like, one, I was, like, felt really blessed that I had made it so far working with people face to face. Right. Hundreds of people coming through the drive-thru, easy, just in, like, a lunch hour, like, hundreds of people. It's so all day you're probably seeing, like, I don't know how to put a number, because on a big day lunch rush, it was, like, close to 500 people, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, because you'd be at, like, 3K just for one lunch hour. Pretty sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember the numbers, but I do remember it was a lot. So, like, you're seeing a lot of people face to face, and dealing, like, talking with them, like, all of that. And so I ended up getting sick with COVID. Didn't know I had COVID. I just knew that I wasn't feeling good. And I remember I remember there being a situation where we were really short-staffed because people kept getting sick left and right, and then you had to quarantine for 2 weeks, and so we were constantly short-handed. That was another thing that made it so stressful. And then, like, with it being with food, you have strict rules, and so you have to be so many hours without a fever. You have to have, so many hours, quarantine this many days, so many hours without a fever, so many this, so many, it was, all of these strict requirements on it, and so it made it really hard to keep staff because of all of that, trying to abide by all of these rules that would ultimately keep our team safe and our guests safe. So they were good, but it just added so much stress, so many things that we had to deal with and keep track of and kind of overcome a lot. And so I ended up getting sick with COVID. I didn't know I was sick with COVID. I just knew I was not doing good, and I was telling them I need to go home. I couldn't call off because the point system and stuff, and I didn't want to lose my job, or lose my position. And I remember trying to get people to cover me, and I couldn't. There was a really short list of people that just weren't scheduled that day, but most of the time it was they had classes and whatnot. And so it was usually if they weren't at work, if they weren't sick, they were in class.
Yeah.
And so it was one of those things where it was there was literally no one to cover. Yeah. And so it was well, if you can't find someone to cover and Nikki don't call off, then you need to come in. And obviously there was consequences for calling off, which is why I avoided it. And so I'd come in and I'd be well, if I come in, can you do everything you can to send me home? I'm not doing well. And they're we'll try our best. But then of course we'd be even more shorthanded than we originally thought because other people would call off and all of that. And turns out that I worked 2 days sick, maybe 3 on the 3rd day. And I literally left and was I'm so not well that I literally was I'm going to urgent care. And I remember I went home and I said, can you take me to urgent care? And we went straight to urgent care. Got tested for COVID. It ended up being COVID. And I got so sick that night. We didn't find out until the next day that it was COVID. But it got bad that night. So bad. And we kind of felt that it was going to be a tough ride.
We did.
And, and we didn't know what that meant. And so when we found out we had COVID, we started a 2-week quarantine, and he had to quarantine with me because he was exposed to me. He ended up getting sick. And I honestly felt I was doing pretty good considerably after the first few days.
Yeah. It wasn't too bad.
But then after that initial 2 weeks, everything just went downhill towards the end. The end of the 2 weeks.
Yeah. It just kind of tanked. And it was weird, man. It was weird because, like you said, we both kind of had that feeling, and it really was a God thing, Yeah. And at first it's kind of weird. If you kind of get news from God that's kind of saying, hey, you're going to get sick for a little while, but ultimately, everything's going to be okay. At first it feels kind of weird,
Yeah.
Because obviously it's the God that can stop everything and heal and do all these great things.
Yeah.
But he was being the shepherd, in that situation, not just simply the healer. And it was so weird because when Anna was explaining what she felt as a husband, it was just no, you're not going to get sick and whatever. But I knew in my spirit, it was I know, that was so tough to have to swallow that pill. And so when the sickness and stuff kept getting worse for you, and at first it was oh, God was talking about 2 weeks, where she's, not doing too hot, but, you're still hot, girl, that.
Whatever.
But just not feeling that well.
Yeah.
But ultimately she's okay, and it's in COVID, so it's all this craziness and whatever.
Yeah.
But then, like you said, towards the end of that 2 weeks, it just, you started to go down.
Yeah.
Pretty quick. And that definitely marked a
Yeah.
like a threshold for us.
Yeah, and I remember, we were working really hard to get supplements and stuff delivered by our poor family members.
Yeah.
Like, hey, could you just like set that on the doorstep? Thanks.
Yeah.
Powerades, all these supplements and stuff.
Some Clorox before you
My mom made a soup, this big huge bowl of caldo. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just really good. And so we were trying to do the supplements because we were trying to like get better. Whenever we realized how like I was kind of on the way down and you had just gotten sick, and we were like, we can't, like, we need to do stuff to get better. We knew people in medical. We said, what do we take? What do we do? And whatnot. And so we started taking all these supplements. It was too late for me.
Yeah.
It wasn't too late for him.
No.
And so we started doing that and stuff. And so this resulted in me being off of work for, I think it was like a month, maybe 2 months. And I literally couldn't go 24 hours without having a fever.
Yeah.
And
that
so
was one of the stipulations.
Right.
Like you had to go so long at least without having.
Yeah, you had to go 24 hours without a fever.
Okay, yeah.
And so I couldn't. Like every single time, if I even got close, it was like, nope, like clockwork.
Dude,
like, nope.
I remember once because when I tested you and you asked me how long.
And I would check throughout the day to make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was because you were laying down one night, but it was the pressure. It was the pressure. If I don't want to lose my job, I don't want to lose my position.
Yeah, I worked so hard to get here. We need this financially.
And
like
we still broke.
Well, we had savings.
We had savings, but it was so we weren't like as broke as we were before. When we were surviving on the free 7-Eleven Powerades or whatever it was, Circle K. But it was the point of we barely really we're still scraping by, and so
which we realized we were living a bit out of balance, that we were saving a little too much.
To the point that it was kind of choking us out.
It was choking, but we didn't see it that way because it was like, well, we have to do this because...
Yeah, I mean,
we want to...
Took it to the extreme level.
Yeah, a little bit, unintentionally.
Yeah.
It was all from a good place of our heart of we want to be set up for where the Lord...
And we have that, like our personalities were like, let's go.
Yeah, and we weren't starving by any means. We weren't No, we were living a good life. It just we wasn't going out and doing a lot of things still.
Right. That was still kind of out of the question.
Yeah. And so and then it just felt like at the time my income was like mostly savings and anything extra we needed. Yours was just bills and groceries.
Yeah.
And so if we needed laundry detergent, if we needed extra gas for any reason, like if we needed shampoo, like all of that sort of stuff outside of food, like in the initial filling of the tanks, like that you would take care of, like my income covered everything else. So if we wanted to do extra, like it was my income that we did.
And that's what was kind of scary with the job thing. And I remember one night you're laying down and that hustling heart in you is just like, I gotta go. I gotta
get back to work. Yeah.
And I checked you and you had a fever and you were like, how long has it been? And I remember when I looked, it was literally 23 hours, dude. I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, it was rough. And so I remember we went on a little bit of a side tangent, but John then when it really was obvious that I wasn't gonna go back to work. And I was actually going to lose my job. And I had to keep getting doctor's notes to keep my job of saying a week, 2 weeks, another 2 weeks, another 2 weeks. And literally the 2 weeks would come and go so fast, and I couldn't go without a fever. And so we were about at 2 months, if I remember correctly. And I had gone so much without a doctor's note because they had told me you know what, we know you're not doing well. Let us know. Keep us updated every weekly, on how you're doing and whatnot. We want to work with you, and whatnot. And then turns out that looking at the policy and stuff, which the situation was unprecedented. There was no policy for a situation like this. And so what it all came down to was we need to follow policy. And unless she gets doctor's notes for this much time since the last doctor note, she's fired. And I didn't want to be fired. And that was really hard. And so I had to go to the doctors again. And I remember we talked and we prayed. And I just felt like I need to quit.
Yeah.
Like I need to turn in my 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I need to get the doctor's notes from, the past few weeks. And then get another one for the next 2 weeks so I could turn in my 2 weeks. And I just wanted to leave as respectful and as by the book as possible because I didn't want to burn the bridge. It was something that I felt like I would go as far as the Lord would allow me in Chick-fil-A and just absorb as much as I could because there was a lot of things that in leadership you really had a lot of access to with being taught about running a business and all of that and stuff. And so had to quit. And because of this, like our savings dwindled.
That's when it started going down.
And that was about over the course of like 2.5 years because we'd only been in our apartment for about like 6 to 8 months at this point before I got sick. And then, it was about 6 months when I got sick and then 8 months. Yeah. And so it was still just like chaos.
Yeah.
And so, and like our car broke down a couple times. Sonny literally almost died.
Wish that's some of the scratching here in the background from.
Yeah, crazy cat, because he's like, excuse me, why are you locking yourself in this room? I love you. Anyways.
He thinks we're punishing ourselves.
And so, there was just a lot of life situations, unexpected bills that happened, tires, again, the income I was bringing in was to cover like oil changes, new tires, all of that.
Even our savings.
Yeah, in our savings. I already said that, and whatnot. And so, so my income stopped. We had no money to cover these things when it happened, so it just had to come from savings. And mind you, we're still doing without furniture. Because I didn't have enough time to rebuy things.
Not with all this stuff going on.
No, and because I didn't want to just buy anything. I wanted to curate it. And so when I got sick and all that happened, it all just stopped. And so there was a couple furniture pieces where it's okay, well, we do need to kind of buy some of this now. And so that also came from savings, but again, it was all Facebook Market stuff, so it wasn't anything crazy. We tried to do our best to steward what we had well so that it would last as much as possible. But over the course of 2.5 years, 3 years, it just was gone.
That's all us trying to what you're saying. We're trying to get furniture together, all that stuff, because again, it's all focused on house, it's all focused on properties. We're trying to pursue what God said to do before all this stuff.
And that was what was so confusing is because God, you told us to make this place home, and then you just, it seems like you made that abundantly difficult by allowing me to get sick and then allowing it to last this long. And then you told us to we're going to get a house and to make way for investment property, and we're trying to do our best. And then this stuff is just dwindling for real estate and all this stuff. So it just was a really hard time. It was a really hard season.
And you think when God says this kind of stuff, I mean, I guess it depends, but most of the time it seems like when God says, this thing's going to happen, especially if it's big, you kind of think you there's an anticipation. You're almost okay. And then time
and we didn't
passes.
want to be the people that was just waiting. Well, God said, so we're going to wait for him to do it, because nowhere in the Bible do you see that unless it literally was said wait,
to do nothing.
And so we didn't want to do that because we weren't told to wait. It was just God's gonna do this, God's gonna do that, blah blah blah. Okay,
so it was how can we faithfully respond?
How can we put as much action to that as we can without taking it into our own hands?
Yes.
And trying to make it happen for ourselves. No matter what, we want to follow God's peace. And so, but we want to make as much preparation as we can for what God is saying, what he's pointing us to and guiding us to. And so, so then this whole illness stuff, it started getting worse. I started passing out. I started throwing up a lot. I started to the point of just dry heaving for hours. My severe migraines were amping up. I was in and out of the hospital a lot. I was having a lot of digestive issues, a lot of severe stomach pain. And I was going to the hospital and urgent care and like getting a bunch of tests run and going to my doctors trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Couldn't figure out what was going on. And then I ended up getting diagnosis of POTS from a cardiologist.
Yeah.
And this was almost a year after I started passing out and everything.
It was a while going through these episodes, man. It was so tough.
And like it's worse than what we're saying.
Oh yeah.
But it was just a lot. Sure. And it ended up leading to me getting a POTS diagnosis by a cardiologist and then being referred to as POTS specialist, which then that clarified a lot of what was happening. And so basically what they believe happened, even though I've had a lot of POTS symptoms my whole life. So I kind of wonder if it's like kind of been here, but it was really triggered with when I got COVID. Because essentially what happens is if you go through a really big trauma or a severe illness, it can trigger POTS. And so essentially like they believe COVID really triggered it and amped it up. And POTS like causes you to pass out, which is probably the most known symptom, but it affects everything else, like your digestive system, your nervous system, your like how your brain and your vagus nerve and your stomach communicate, which is what directs, and your heart actually, which is what directs where your blood goes when and how much and all of that, which is what causes you to pass out.
Main highway is the vagus nerve in your nervous system.
Yeah, and like can cause severe fatigue, severe chronic pain, like a bunch of stuff.
Ton of stuff.
And so, weird stuff, like off stuff. And so basically all these years of going to the doctors, all these things were like happening. And then but it was like anomalies almost. It was like, oh, this would only happen for a season, then it went away. And then it only happened for a season, then it went away. And so it was always like, oh, you have a virus. Oh, you have a stomach flu.
Right.
Oh, you have.
Because because you have some symptoms of POTS that bleed with other symptoms and then bleed with other symptoms. And it's like...
Yeah, and then so it's like, oh, it's your severe migraines.
Yeah.
And a virus, or it's this, or it's just your severe migraines. And so like everything made it really hard to like figure out. Yeah. And so we finally figured it out and we read into it. There's 3 categories of POTS. I have all of them. Yay me. And so anyways, we ended up finding that out and that explained a lot of things. And so at this point, we are at the ending of our second year of our lease. I believe. And realized that we had been, we were trying to like reallocate like our finances because throughout this whole time, God was still dealing with us about a house and real estate. Yeah. And we're like, God, this is so contrary to everything that's happening. And like literally our savings is dwindling. My health isn't doing that great. I can't even get a job because I'm not well, which I did try several times to get a job and like try to find someone that would work with me. And like no one wanted to work with me, which I get it. And so basically it was just like, well, we don't know how long I'm ever going to be able to, how long I'm going to have to go without getting a job. And, like, if I'll ever be able to work a normal job because of how, like, it affected my every single day life on top of my mental and emotional health. Yeah. And so with my physical health and my mental emotional health, like, I literally could not live daily life. I couldn't eat. I couldn't shower. I couldn't, like, I could barely sleep. Like, everything was just so upheaved. Yes. That, like, I literally was like, so if I can't just, like, do the basic things of life, like of sleep and eat and drink and like shower, then I definitely can't work a job.
Yeah, and the thing is, none of it was for a lack of trying. No. It was, I'd be at work and I would be very concerned if she said she was going to take a shower. Because in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, if you pass out and you hit your head on the sink, like, I'm an hour away. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? And so, and it wasn't like, because Anna passed out 2 or 3 times in the span of a year, so now I'm worried about it. It was like, no, this was happening every week. and would happen even multiple times a week, and would even happen multiple times a day.
Yeah, and so, when it was really bad, yeah.
Yeah, and it's so unpredictable, and we were still not mapping this stuff out yet. We were trying to, but we didn't have a map, I should say. Mm-hmm. And so we didn't know what triggers were for any of this. That, I mean, you have emotional, you have mental, you have physical, you have dietary.
Yeah, and to find out that my severe migraines can trigger POTS and vice versa. POTS can trigger my severe migraines. And so basically what we found out was that every time I ended up in the hospital, I was having a severe migraine and a POTS episode at the same time, like coinciding.
Yeah.
And so I'd be like throwing up, like TMI, diarrhea, like, shoot, there's no TMI on this podcast. I forgot.
Honestly, because
make it raw and keep it real.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, I'm not that y'all want to hear all about bowel movements.
Here for raw and real.
But yeah, so like I literally would be doing all the things all at once, and it was not great. And be severely dehydrated. Yeah, literally hours. And then after that would happen, I'd be down for at least 3 days straight sleeping almost.
Oh, yeah. It would be 3 or 4 days that she would be completely
I'd wake up, just go to the bathroom and eat and drink if I could, and then go back. Like I'd fall right back to sleep.
That you are seeing on here is not the Anna
no.
that those years was just like all this weight on. Because even talking like this right now, you would not have had the energy to just do this. It would have been like, we would have been talking for maybe, and I literally mean maybe 5-10 minutes. And then all of a sudden, it's just like I could see like everything changes, a migraine's coming on or whatever. And then the stomach gets triggered, and it's just one thing after another, to the point that if we went out on a date, it's like on the way to something we're both looking forward to, we have to turn back, come home. If we went on a trip.
Or if I made it through the date, then I needed 3 days to recover.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I usually ended up having an episode that night, like afterwards.
Yeah. Oh, it would happen.
Yeah, and towards the end when I would have like a week spurt of being okay, that's when we would start. Well, actually, no, it was like a week to 2 weeks, but it was still like hit or miss. Like there'd be like a day or two here and there.
Yeah.
And then we'd try to go on trips. Or, like, we went to a wedding. I remember we went to a wedding, and it was, like, an hour away. And I was like, I'm not going to miss this. Like, I want to go.
Right.
And I was out for a couple days after that. And then it went into a trip that we felt like we needed to go to for church and, like, chaperone and stuff. Which turned out that our church is awesome. Like, they, which surprised us. I'm like, yeah, you don't have to chaperone. Like, just enjoy it.
Yeah, man. It was like,
and we were just like, wait, what? Crazy. Like, are you sure? Like, we came to serve.
We
like,
got the chaperone discount, dog.
Yeah, and like, wow. And then they'd be like, yeah, you're okay. We didn't need you. Like, we don't need you as a chaperone. Like, just enjoy it. And we're like, oh my goodness. Like, thank you so much. And because it was hard to afford those things, and so the chaperone discount pretty much made it so that we could go. And in which we wanted to serve anyways. And that was our hearts from when we got married.
Yeah.
Because we literally came from our honeymoon, not even a week later, and chaperoned a trip.
Yeah. It was literally...
A couple days later. It was a couple days, yeah. And so, and then a couple weeks later, did the same thing. Chaperoned again.
Yeah.
And for another event. And so, like, that was just our heart. But yeah, so with all of this happening, we was like, okay, it was our second year of being in our apartment. It was towards the end of second year, I believe, in Perrysburg. And we had sat down and talked like, okay, we need to kind of regroup. God's still dealing with us about getting a house. We've been trying to do our best in the midst of all of this chaos. Like, and in the meantime, we had stuff going on with family. That's not the point, but just this stuff, it was so wild this whole time, like nonstop, every single week it was something. And it wasn't just one thing. It was like 3 things easy every week.
And they're all
of chaos.
It wasn't just small.
No, it wasn't us blowing things out of proportion, but it was just like nonstop. And it wasn't even just my health. It was like family's health and like hospitals for them and like
unpredictable diagnoses and
and so we were just like, we need to regain it as a family. as us and refocus and figure out what can we do. Okay, me getting a job off the table. You're in your apprenticeship. There's not much, like, you can't really, like, work more hours or do this or do that. Like, you kind of have to just follow what they're saying. You can't choose a different job right now. Like, it's not in your control.
As an apprentice, you're just, it's like, me to do this is all that I can do.
Yep. Yeah. And so, like, there's no really opportunity for you to make more money unless you have that job you happen to be on with the company says, oh, we need to do overtime. Then it was like that opportunity. And so unless you were, like, sent home with wire, which that would happen when we needed it most, like, you would just be blessed with wire timing. And it would always end up being almost the exact amount we needed.
Yeah. And it was hard because I knew that we needed money, like, almost desperately, especially in this time. Would never ask for wire, not ever, but it would just be, I'd be like, God, you know, we just need you to come through, whatever. And then all of a sudden, out of the clear blue, they'd be like, hey, man, you know, you want to take this wire home, you know, for you and your wife, whatever. Or even other apprentices would come up and just say, hey, man, I wanted to give this box of, like, wire from the job to you. And I'm like, okay. You know, just stuff where God was just kind of helping us out. Where, again, you know, we're going through the, Jesus, can you just, like, Jesus this whole thing?
Yeah.
You know? But he just kind of little.
And there would be a lot of times where we'd pray for, like, healing and stuff, and God would be like it's going to be a process. It's not going to be a miracle. It's going to be a process. Which is where the video came from, which is, like, a healing, a miracle versus a healing process. It literally came from, like, my own experiences and like what the Lord was telling me and, like, me praying about it and reading the Bible about it and, like, okay, like, this is what you're saying, and I trust you in that. I have peace in that. But anyways, so we then start trying to figure out, how can we gather money? How can we store what we have? And we had realized, I can't remember how it all came about, but we had realized that we were filing our taxes incorrectly and we were actually losing money.
Yeah.
The whole time we'd been married. And we had been misguided on how to file our taxes and why. And so we were just doing that because we thought that was, like, the best for our situation. And turns out it wasn't. So we found out that we had to, you know, we could go back and amend the past, up to the past 3 years to get money back and that we had lost. And so thankfully a close friend took the time to sit down with me and help me go through every single one of those 3 years and refile and, you know, try to get some money back, because it was like there's no way, like, our savings at this point was pretty much gone. And it was just like, if anything happens, like, we have no way to take care of it. We were pretty much like going not only from check to check but from blessing to blessing, because, like, the blessings are provision. And so it was like a situation where it's like, okay, well, we still want to do what we can to store what we have. And so we ended up amending 3 years back, and we did it ourselves because we couldn't afford to pay a professional to do it. So thankful for that friend that helped. And we had no idea if we'd get anything back. It wasn't guaranteed, like, that we would get anything back. Oh yeah, 100%. That was a ton of work. Yeah, put in. And it was mostly me while John was at work with our friend. And I was unsure about that whole thing. I'm like, I don't think that's going to work. But you, again, I mean, to your credit, you stayed steadfast. Because I'm like, if it does, this is a couple $1,000s each year potentially. Yeah. You know, and so I was like, it's worth a try. You know, and and so we did it, and we did it in faith, and I pray that the Lord would bless it. And we were told by a tax professional, literally then when we filed that year's taxes the correct way with a professional, and they literally told us, like, it is highly unlikely that you're going to see any of that. They said, it's like you, and they're like, wait, did you do it online? And we're like, no. And they're like, you mailed it? And we're like, yeah. She's like, that was the thing. They were like, you definitely are not seeing it. Yeah. Ever. Like, it'd be really rare. Yeah. And that was just like, oh man, but it hurt because we were believing so much in faith and that God was going to do this. And we would have conversations like, but God's going to return this amended taxes and all this stuff. Like, we have no idea what he's going to do with it. And like all this stuff. And like, really it was just our faith and our hope.
It was. And it's such a wrestle, you know, you're trying to, you're like, you feel the reality of it, but then you also are trying to aim at the hope of it.
Yeah.
And hope and your present reality don't always seem to mix very well.
No.
You know, it was definitely easier to believe what was more present.
Yeah, so despite that news, we decided to believe anyways that God was going to do otherwise. Mm-hmm. And so at this point, because it was like the end of our 2 years, so this is the start of our 3-year, we had just got done looking for houses again, because God's like, look for a house. Hey, don't forget, I'm going to give you this house. Find a house, like, keep looking for a house. And we're just like, okay. And no door opened. And so we re-signed our lease to begin our 3rd year in our Perrysburg apartment. And this was after we had just the second Perrysburg apartment. This was just after we had just gone through the process of trying to find another house and getting a bunch of no's. It only reminded us of our tough financial situation, my health, because again, I couldn't work. So there was like no way to bring in extra cash. It literally was like we were on such a tight lockdown on what we could do that it was just crazy. And he was working so far away that like he'd come home and try to take care of me before going to bed and going to work again. Yeah. And so it was like there was no like side work either that we could do or that he could do, because I couldn't even do the dishes, bless God.
Yeah. Well, and that was hard because Anna was also in that spot of feeling like, you know, as a wife she wasn't doing enough and all of this stuff.
Yeah, because he would come home, take care of me, take care of the home, like our apartment, do dishes, like whatever, and I would try at least to keep up with laundry. At the least. Yeah. And it was tough because obviously from coming home after a long day, for anybody, you're like, man, I got all this stuff that I got to do. So it's stressful, but I wasn't upset with Anna. It was just the circumstances. Yeah. And I remember she said to me one day, like, well, you know, I just feel like I need to do this, feel like I need to do that. And I'm like, look, you know, it's not that I don't want you to do those things or that I would appreciate that. I do and I would, but I want you to be well. Yeah. You know? And that shifted things. Yeah. If you can be well and you can drink the water that you need, like your intake for water today, and you can eat the meals you need to eat today, that's the win. Yeah. And we can get to the other stuff, but in the meantime, you know, let's try to foster that. Yeah, which it was hard because on bad days, like, I'd go to get up because I'd be thirsty. And it'd be like, whoa, I almost just passed out. And it's like, well, I don't feel like I can get up right now. So I would wait. So I'd literally go almost all day without eating or drinking anything. Yeah. And absolutely would only get up if I had to use the restroom. Yep. And then I couldn't bring food to her or help her even to go to the bathroom. Yeah. There were sometimes I'd come home and then she's like, man, I really have to go to the bathroom. But she wanted to wait because she wanted to be safe. Yeah. You know? And so, yeah, it was tough. It was really tough. Yeah. Yeah. And so, when we received this no and had to resign these no's on the house and had to resign, and it reminded us of like where my health was, where our financial situation was, everything was contrary to getting a house. And then right after re-signing our lease again to start our 3rd year, maybe a month passed, and someone close to us had said that they had been praying for us and felt strongly from the Lord that it was time to look for a house. And thanks the Lord we didn't go off, because we almost went off and was like, okay, this has nothing to do with you, but like you have no idea the process we just went through trying to find a house, and we just re-signed our lease. What do you mean? People say, like, what do you mean? Hey, don't attack the messenger. We almost attacked the messenger. We almost did. But the love of the Lord said, hold your tongue. Be slow to speak. And quick to listen. Yeah. And so, man, yeah, thankfully we... you can, bro, I know that you can just see us reflecting right now on just that, that happened, because it was so tough, because we had gone through all of this, everything that we just said. Oh my gosh, we went through all of this stuff. Again,
just trying to stay faithful. All these things throwing us around. We have not even told you half of everything that's going on.
No. But this is just a summary.
This is just a summary. We wouldn't even have enough time to go through everything that has gone on.
No, which we're already over this video.
Right? But what I will say is that after all this, trying to pursue what God told us to do about the house, about real estate, all these things, then after we're already down and out, we already tried to look for a house. We tried to answer multiple times. We just got
reminded very rawly of our situation in every aspect. And not that we needed it.
No, because it seems like a slap to the face. You just keep finding out how you're not prepared, how you don't have enough, how you're not in the right position.
Yeah.
And after being beat down, with a great realtor, she's phenomenal.
Well, that's not even, we didn't even reach that point yet. So don't jump ahead.
Oh, okay.
No, this point we still did not have a realtor.
Oh, wow.
So gotta stop you there because you're getting a little too ahead.
Okay, well, I saw it differently in my head, I guess.
No, because remember, this is at the end of our 2 years, start of our third year. We didn't have a realtor yet until like halfway through our third year, towards the fall.
Towards the fall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the start of our third year. And so, bless the Lord, we did not go off on that person because that person did not deserve it. And you know what? So we were upset. We drove away angry and we were like, you know what? All right. What do we do every time? We take it to the Lord and we pray.
Every time. Everything.
And so we were just like, we need to do that. Because honestly, at this point, we were so kind of like beaten down that it was just kind of like, no.
Yep.
And we didn't want to think about it.
Yep. Just shut it down.
And literally I was just like, I don't think that's okay. I think we need to pray about this like we would normally do. And
you were the voice of reason. So I was like, no way. I'm not going to do this again.
Yeah. And so so nonetheless we decided to take it to prayer and see what happened. Sure enough, the Lord was indeed saying, look for a house again. To start getting everything we could in place in the process. And so for us at this point, it's not that we didn't try looking for realtors or anything. We had we had no one guiding us through the process. We didn't know what to do. And so we were just looking for houses and calling people ourselves and going to showings or open houses and auctions even like just in faith, like, okay, God, you're telling us to look for a house. We don't know what to do. And and we did try like calling realtors before, just nothing ever like worked.
Yeah, it just never landed.
No, and
didn't get calls back.
It was just like weird stuff. And it just, nothing would ever move forward. But then at this time, this is when we actually noticed that things began to shift. And doors were opening to us that hadn't been open to us before. And so we did find that we were getting further into the process than we had ever done before. And so that to us already had been like, maybe this is different. We've never, and I remember we were sitting down and you were upset. And you were really struggling, and you were just like, well, I don't understand, God, blah, 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 this is that, like, none of this makes sense. We're not in any different position than we already were, than we just got no's, and, like, all this stuff. And we just reminded of all these things. Nothing's changed. Like, I don't understand. And I just remember telling him, like, okay, but have we done this before? Have we gotten this far before? And he was just like, no. And I'm like, that alone tells you that it's different because we've literally never gotten to this point.
Yeah.
And he was just like, okay, like, all right. And so
that was enough. That definitely was enough to kind of switch the mind, because you just keep seeing the same cycles go. And even something that small to know that there's a difference is like, all right, what that did is kind of open me up to the little bit of hope I had left.
Yeah. And so in the process of looking for the right people to help us look for a house and look into loans, we had some things not work out with people. And ultimately we viewed this as like the Lord protecting us and leading us to the right people that he had for us in the situation and everything. And so we were in connection Now we were connected to a realtor.
We had a realtor, y'all.
And again, we'd never had a realtor before.
No.
And and
I'm trying.
it was she was referenced to us from a really close family friend who had also referred her to another close couple of ours that are friend of ours that are a couple. And they're like family, and they had used her, and they loved her, and spoke highly of her. And we were just like, you know what? Let's reach out to her. And so we did, and sure enough, felt peace. She's like, yeah, absolutely. Let's start today. Blah blah blah. Let's get on a phone call. Let's do this. What are you looking for? What? Blah blah blah. Where? Okay. Here's. Oh, okay. Have you been in contact with a loan officer? No. Okay. Here's several. Like
there's like 4 of them.
Yeah, I think it was like 5, but yeah, it was like, here's this many, like call them, whoever, or you can do your own research, whatever you feel comfortable with it. And like, here's this and here's that. And she just started giving us information. We never had anybody like do that before. So we were already like, whoa. Like,
we're already blown away.
Yeah, because it's
totally
just
different.
like, oh, this is what we need to get a house. Like, oh, we have to talk to this this person.
And no matter how many calls
not
we
just
made
a
before,
realtor.
we couldn't get all of that information, but there wasn't that level of help, you know?
Nowhere. And so she was just amazing. She like literally blew us out of the water and like literally guided us through the process of what was needed and what to research, all of that, and how to prepare everything.
Yeah.
And
short the extra mile.
Yeah, and so we're so blessed that Kayla, our realtor, is in our lives.
Yes.
And so after that, like literally everything started flowing. Started flowing.
Yeah.
But like the how do I say? But it didn't just take off. It started flowing, but it just did not.
Yeah.
Like I don't. Yeah, I don't know how to say it. It just there were still things that were hard, which we'll get into it. So until we realized that even though everything on paper, so this is what happened. This is so we start looking at houses with a realtor. We're in communication with loan officers.
Yeah.
We begin to see houses that we feel like are in a price range. And through this whole time, we were realizing like, okay, we need to reevaluate what we wanted and what we could afford. And now, so at the point, okay, listen, when it's on God, when God's saying he's going to give you a house, you say, all right, God, so this is what I want.
You said that so hood. When it's on God,
you're like, these are the things that I'd really like, and here's why.
Yeah.
And the thing is like
God's budget.
You don't really realize how much of your own expectations you put into something God says. And like, so for us, we're like, okay, well, God told us real estate. God told us content creation. God told us music. God told us ministry in this community. And so we're like, okay, so the house is going to look like enough room for each of us to have an office and a place to record music. Oh, God's telling us about improving our health and stuff, especially for me. Okay, so home gym. Like, okay, so God's telling us to build this ministry in this community. Okay, enough room to host.
Yeah.
So living room, great room, dining room, kitchen nook.
Add that whole up. What's the square footage?
Yeah.
What do we need?
Okay. And then also not only do we need room for offices and a recording studio, but we also need room for a guest room. We need at least 2 full baths.
2 full baths. And you need
a half bath.
Just to introduce people to the crib.
Yeah, you need an entrance. You need a yard.
You need a yard.
I'm vitamin D deficient. I need to be able to have a private yard to tan.
Yes.
Yeah, so you get the point. You get the point of like all these things start adding up. And you don't realize it's you imposing your expectations and your desires on what God said.
Yes, yes.
And so through the whole process, like we realized we can't afford the things that that we thought was on God.
Yeah. Yeah, he owns a cattle on 1,000 hills. But I ain't even got
We
one hill,
don't.
When we got to it, it was almond milk.
Yeah.
That's the thing, though, because it is such a good point that your expectations, like me and Anna being obedient in this process, was not just the giving of our time into getting information, making the right phone calls, trying to connect with the right people. It wasn't just the giving of our money, but it's also, or the investing of our money here, but it was also the giving and giving up of our expectations.
Yeah.
That is a part of obedience, because otherwise we're setting all these preconditions.
Yeah.
And when God doesn't satisfy the preconditions, we think he didn't do the thing he said he would do.
Yeah. And so literally he like started because at this point we just thought miraculously God's going to give us a house with all these things. Mm-hmm. And then not that we didn't believe that God was going to give us a house, but we just started seeing like, okay, well, he's practically walking us through this, through like the legitimate steps.
Right.
And so, like I said, we had no one walking us through this process of like what it looks like to buy a house, what's needed to buy a house, like who you need to get in contact with and when, like none of that. And so at this point we were just looking at houses in faith and showing up in faith and saying, okay, God, like you're saying you're going to give us a house, like we're going to show up and see what you do. And then like nothing would happen, or we would talk with the realtor at that house and stuff and like realize it was just like a no, like for various reasons and stuff. And so this time he's literally started walking us through the process of like, okay, realtor, okay, loan officer, okay, like look at houses while still looking at houses and then look at houses in your price range and what we thought was our price range. And then, which really wasn't a lot. It's not like we were looking at like $300,000 houses, you know?
Yeah.
Like it wasn't even $200,000 houses, but like, but in the area that we felt called to, like that's basically where houses are at, is kind of in the $200,000 range. So we were looking at like really low houses in the areas and still couldn't afford it. Right. And so then we started feeling like, okay, well, we started getting reminded of God saying through our pastor, like not to draw lines on where God can place us in order to reach the community. Because we kept thinking we need to live in the community, reach this community.
That is the way it's going to happen.
Yeah. You know? And like, that's not wrong. We 100% believe that we will end up being led back into the community and do ministry there. But at the time, we just started feeling like, okay, well, maybe we need to look outside of this because we can't afford this.
Right.
And unless God says something and opens a door, like we need to do it, like practically speaking. At this point, it's like, okay, we're going to have faith, we're going to have belief, but we need to do things practically and with wisdom.
Right.
And so our expectations started like coming down. Our areas on which we were looking started broadening. The prices of houses we were looking at started lowering, which meant what it offered started lowering.
Right.
Which we could have gotten houses close to with the space we wanted, but we didn't feel peace about it, and they were in areas that we felt peace about.
I mean, some of them are pretty sizable.
Yeah.
It's just not like it would have done all the things that we were saying, but
for the most part, not every single thing, but like it would have done really well. Yeah, several of them would have done.
At least space, but then it's just like, you know, God, it's kind of Moses' situation. Like I'm not going to get into this place if God's not there. Yeah, literally, you know? Which
is something that I stated in the earlier part of the series of God gave us a house, going through like our heart of that. And so if you haven't, go check that out. Absolutely. Go listen to this, because this is a full series from start to finish. We're going back and filling in the gaps that we didn't have time to share yet.
It's not just on the podcast, on the YouTube channel for the long form videos.
Yes.
To kind of complete the series.
Yeah, and so until we realized that even though everything on paper for us looked good for approval with the loan officer. Yeah. He's like, your credit's great. You know, this looks right. I can't remember everything, but like all these things look great. You guys are great. Income looks great. job looks great, employment, whatever. And he's like, you can afford this much. And we were like, huh? At first it was like,
say it again for the people in the back.
We can get everything?
Yeah. Because, I mean, what we were approved for was a lot.
Yeah. And we were like, whoa, we were literally like, God, you did it.
Yeah.
Like, wow. And then, like, it's like, yeah, so your mortgage would be, if you put this much down, and it was like 20%, it was like, or something like that. And it was like, then your mortgage, which would be this many thousands of dollars, then your mortgage would be this much a month. And we're like,
I was like, you couldn't have led with that?
No.
I
was like, guy, we don't, first off, it's so nice of you to assume that we have $20,000 plus to put down, but also so kind of you to assume that we could afford a $2,000 plus mortgage. And so like legitimately it was hard because then we had to say, okay, that's like not in our price range. And granted, we didn't really know what our price range was fully, and so like this was a process of discovering what did that actually look like for us, and whatnot. And so we repeatedly get humbled and have to reconsider where we are in life, what we have, and what we can afford. And while still like trying to act in faith and belief and trust in the Lord for everything that he's saying to do and everything that he's saying he will do, and whatnot. And so on paper, everything looked good. We were pre-approved, but we still couldn't buy a house with our finances. Again, we didn't have any savings at this time. And so like, and if we did, it was very little. I really don't remember at this time, but I know it was like pretty much nothing. And what we did have, we were like, if anything happens, we need to not touch this because like we need to have something. And so our team did, so this time, like our realtor, our loan officer, these people didn't tell us no. For the first time, we weren't being told no. We had to tell them no. Which was so difficult because it was like we made it to this point further than we've ever made it before. We actually have a team, actually have the help, actually are being set in the process. And like when we have to say no because these numbers aren't adding up for where we are. And even though we kept looking at houses drastically under what we were looking at, it still felt like it wasn't changing the numbers to where we needed it. And we were so discouraged because it's just like, well, we don't want to live in a really bad area. And we don't want to be buying a house that we're not going to get our money back. You know, and that we don't want to be in a place where we don't feel peace, which was like the absolute highest point of it. And so we felt like it wasn't wise to move forward where everything had stood at this point. And so we didn't want to put ourselves in an unwise position where we wouldn't be able to afford the house, would end up losing the house, worsen our financial position, and put us in a worse place than, you know, because we were fairly, like, considering we were in a great place. Like, great apartment, great, you know, we had been working on our credit, so we had great credit. You know, you were still working on your apprenticeship. At this point, you were on your fourth year. Fourth? Because this was the start of our third year in our apartment. Or, like, towards the end.
Yeah, maybe it was.
No, you were fifth. You're fifth because you graduated the year before the summer we left, before we left.
Yeah.
The apartment.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And so, we didn't want to be put in a worse place.
Yeah.
And it was coming too close to the time where we had to re-sign our lease at our apartment. And so, during this process, this happened a few times where we started looking again because God kept telling us to look. And so we would adjust where our numbers were and look and then find out, like, we still couldn't afford it and then reevaluate and readjust and keep looking. So it was like kind of this process.
Yeah.
And then it came to a point where we ended up saying, okay, we just need to wait. We need to wait until something changes financially for us because as it stands right now, like, like, we keep having to say no and, like, go less and go less and go less.
Which is a maturing process.
Yeah.
You know, it's immature to say, God, meet all my expectations.
Yeah.
Right? But the maturing aspect in following him is that just as we said we release our expectations, we surrender and submit them.
Yeah.
That our expectations have to adjust to accommodate what the will of God is, not that his will has to accommodate our expectations.
Yes.
So it really was a maturing
Yes.
process to say, and this is part of the goodness and mercy of God, is in his grace to say, let me adjust you in this process instead of you thinking you have to adjust me.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, and that was kind of like the big thing, was that we were genuinely being adjusted. And it was kind of weird because it's like we had all this faith for God to do something, but it wasn't about how much faith we had and how much belief we had for God to do something. It was more so about, like, where he was leading us.
Right.
And, like,
how he was leading.
Yeah, and letting go of our own expectations that we had put on him.
Yeah.
And stuff. And so it was coming close to re-sign our lease again, which, yeah, so with that apartment, I think we had explained this in the previous episode of the podcast, and so I'm not going to get too much into it, but it was like at the apartment, we had to do it. It wasn't just, re-sign your lease the month it's about to go up. If you want to re-sign again, it was like, no, you needed to do it early. So it ended up being like 3 or 4 months earlier than when our lease would come up. So it was almost like halfway through the lease.
Right.
Like just under halfway through the lease almost every time. And so and you had to do it in order to lock in the discounted price of the next lease so that you didn't go up to market value and in your rent. And so we knew it was coming close, and we're trying to get as much information from our apartment as we could. And so that we could be prayerful and informed about the decisions we were making. So when the time came, when we got notice of this time for renewal from our apartment, and what they told us the market value would be, what the discount would be for the increase, and if we were signed, we didn't want to have another increase in a place where, like, we were already grown out of in space.
Right.
And that, like, we didn't want to put the money, like, our money towards an apartment when we could be doing it towards a mortgage. And stuff. So we just wanted to try to be the most informed, most prepared that we possibly could.
Right.
And so this added stress of what our rent would look like if we didn't find a house and we didn't re-sign, which at that point, it not only would go up to market value, but then you would have a $200 fee on top of it every single month you stayed after not re-signing the lease when your lease was up. And so this was really stressful because that was something we couldn't afford. And so it was something that was like, okay, when we do leave, if we don't resign, like, we have to make sure we get out on time because we can't afford the market value and the $200 fee. And so it was just like, it was kind of like press time. Either we resign and go another year, or if we're going to get out, we need to get out on time.
It was almost too close to resign.
Yeah.
Like, we were too close with the house thing that it's like, man, we only need a little bit more to try to figure some things out.
Yeah.
Not a whole year.
No, and if they hadn't requested it so early, it wouldn't have been so stressful. But because it was like so early, it was like it added stress because because they only gave you so much time to re-sign to have that deal. And so, and then on top of that, we needed to make sure that when we were ready to leave, that we gave at least 60 days notice, or we would be breaking part of our lease. And so, and be fined. But yeah, I think that for now is a good place to stop. Even though we didn't get anywhere near like to the parts that we wanted to. Yeah. But again, this is a series. This will keep going forward. Yeah. That, like, some of the episodes are on my YouTube channel. All of the podcast is on my YouTube channel as well. And so there's a playlist called God Gave Us a House, literally, on my YouTube channel, where whether it's a YouTube video or a podcast episode, they're all in order of when they were recorded and released and stuff, and more will be coming out. Many more, because we never get as far as we think we can.
No.
We will, because we just start remembering so much more.
Yeah.
And so keep on the lookout of the next episodes.